Picture this: Boston, January 15th, 1919. It's an unseasonably warm winter day. People are out enjoying the unexpected sunshine, going about their business in the bustling North End neighborhood. Little do they know, a bizarre and terrifying disaster is about to unfold, one that will go down in history as one of the strangest industrial accidents ever. High above their heads, a massive steel tank, 5 stories tall and 90 feet wide, stands looming. It's filled to the brim with over 2 million gallons of crude molasses, a sticky, dark, viscous liquid waiting to be distilled into industrial alcohol. But this tank isn't just holding molasses. It's holding back a catastrophe. The people below have grown used to its presence, accustomed to the groaning sounds it makes and the dark streaks of molasses that often leak down its sides. They dismiss it as just another part of the industrial landscape. They couldn't have been more wrong. Just after noon, without any warning, the groaning stops. Instead, witnesses report hearing a sound like machine gun fire as the rivets holding the steel plates together pop one by one. Then, an earth-shattering roar. The colossal tank ruptures, unleashing a tidal wave of molasses. This wasn't a slow ooze. It was a violent, explosive burst. A 25-foot-high wall of sticky goo, weighing thousands of tons, surged through the streets at an estimated 35 miles per hour. This wasn't just molasses. It was a battering ram. The sheer force of the wave was powerful enough to tear buildings from their foundations, buckle the steel supports of the elevated railway tracks, and crush wagons, horses, and people in its path. Imagine a tsunami, but instead of water, it's a thick, suffocating syrup that coats everything and everyone it touches. The wave's momentum carried it for 2 city blocks, engulfing a fire station, flattening homes, and trapping victims in a deadly, sticky prison. The scene was one of absolute chaos and horror. The air, thick with the sickly sweet smell of molasses, was filled with the cries of the injured and the terrified. First responders rushed to the scene, but they were met with an unimaginable challenge. The molasses, which was initially warm, began to cool and thicken in the winter air, turning into a nightmarish quicksand. Rescuers waded through waist-deep goo, struggling to pull people free. Every step was a battle. Horses, caught in the deluge, were so hopelessly trapped that many had to be put down on the spot. It was a gruesome, surreal nightmare. The molasses clogged everything, making rescue efforts painfully slow and dangerous. Fires broke out. Water from fire hoses simply set on top of the molasses, and the entire neighborhood became an inescapable, sticky tomb. In the immediate aftermath, the scale of the tragedy became heartbreakingly clear. 21 people lost their lives, from a 10-year-old boy to a 78-year-old man. Over 150 were injured, some severely. The cleanup was a monumental task that took weeks. The harbor was stained brown for months. Crews used salt water from fireboats to try and wash the molasses into the bay, and sand to absorb what was left on the streets. For years, residents claimed that on hot summer days, the sweet scent of molasses still lingered in the North End. The cleanup was so extensive that every cobblestone, building, and surface had to be scrubbed clean. It was a constant, sticky reminder of the day the neighborhood drowned in sweetness. So, what went wrong? How could a tank of molasses cause such devastation? The investigation that followed revealed a shocking story of corporate negligence. The tank's owner, the Purity Distilling Company, a subsidiary of U.S. Industrial Alcohol, had rushed its construction to meet the demand for industrial alcohol during World War I. The tank was poorly designed and built with steel that was too thin and brittle. It had never been properly tested for leaks. Workers would simply paint it brown to hide the dark streaks of leaking molasses. Residents had complained for years about the groaning sounds and visible leaks, but their concerns were ignored. The company, in its defense, initially tried to blame the explosion on anarchists, a common scapegoat at the time. They claimed a bomb must have been planted to sabotage the tank. This led to one of the first major class action lawsuits in Massachusetts history. For 3 years, lawyers battled it out in court. An auditor, appointed by the court, meticulously heard testimony from hundreds of witnesses, from survivors to metallurgists. Ultimately, the evidence was overwhelming. The court found the company entirely at fault. The cause was simple structural failure. The unseasonably warm day had caused the molasses inside to expand, putting immense pressure on the already faulty tank. The company was ordered to pay what would be equivalent to millions of dollars in damages to the victims and their families. The Great Molasses Flood of 1919 is more than just a bizarre historical footnote. It became a catalyst for change. The disaster led to the adoption of stricter regulations for construction and engineering across the country. From then on, architects and engineers had to show their work and have their calculations certified, and building permits required a new level of professional oversight. It was a hard-learned lesson in corporate responsibility and the importance of public safety standards. Today, a small plaque in Boston's North End commemorates the victims of that strange and tragic day. It serves as a solemn reminder that even something as seemingly harmless as molasses can become a destructive force when greed and negligence are added to the mix. It's a story that proves truth is often stranger and sometimes more terrifying than fiction. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten history. Let me know in the comments what other strange historical events you'd like to see covered. See you next time.